My name is Catherine O'Hare, and I'm the Compliance Officer and the Vice President of MARR. And today we have a couple of individuals that are going to talk. I'm going to introduce Jeff Van Treese first. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. So folks, my name is Jeff Van Treese, and I run Michigan Association of Recovery Residences. And I'm happy to introduce to you a couple guys that are in the Grand Rapids, Greater Western Michigan area, Southwest Michigan, who specialize in business insurance and business risk, and have taken a significant amount of time to research and understand the particular type of insurance products that we as recovery residence operators need to have, as opposed to just a simple homeowner's policy. And so the individuals with us are Jourdan and Tom Moore. Tom has a little bit of family history with recovery residences. I think his uncle ran a recovery residence in the greater Detroit area, so he can speak with some experience. But anyway, I'm going to turn the floor over to Tom and Jourdan, who are going to talk to us about all things insurance related that you might need for running a recovery residence.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that, Jeff. Am I able to share my screen? Do I have permission to do that? Let's see.
You should be able to, yeah. It should say at the bottom, share screen. Perfect.
Cool. All right. So we have just an agenda overview of what we're going to discuss today. We're going to discuss about BHS insurance, who we are. Then we're going to kind of go into our personal about Tom and myself, and then discuss our resources here at BHS, specific coverage concerns that a lot of these recovery homes look for. And then we'll do a little Q&A at the end. So hopping right into it is about the BHS that Tom will take over.
Sure, you bet. So as Jeff mentioned, we're an insurance agency based out of the west side of Michigan. Jourdan are actually in Holland, but main office is just outside of Grand Rapids. However, we do business across the state of Michigan and even nationally, depending on where our clients are. And one big area of expertise is we work with a lot of nonprofits, a lot of social service organizations. I'd say about a third of our business is in that area. So we not only focus on insurance, but we have some great resources when it comes to safety, human resources, some technology that's also free to our clients. And so we really try to take kind of a 360 view of your risk management as a whole and provide a high level of expertise in those areas that you guys are most exposed to. So BHS is kind of set up like a law firm from an ownership standpoint. I'm one of 13 partners here, which is nice. It means we make all our decisions locally here. I'm 44, almost 45 years old, so I'm gonna be doing this for some time still. Jourdan's obviously quite a bit younger than I am, so you got a team here that's going to be in the business for a long time and committed to working with organizations like yours. This is just kind of our philosophy, who we are, our goal as an agency, what we're dedicated to, and obviously I mentioned our specialization. But our goal is to be unmatched when it comes to our competition. And some of that being unmatched means that we take a real active interest in who you are. We don't just blanket assume that every recovery residence business is exactly the same. We want to understand your unique challenges, what you guys do, kind of the things that you're up against, and try to act as an extension of your organization as much as we can. So I don't need to get in every word on that page, but that kind of sums it up as a whole. Just a couple of quick accolades. This doesn't mean a terrible amount to you guys, but it just sort of shows, how we're viewed in the industry. We've been given awards over the years. Best practices agency basically means that all our internal processes and how we do things is very professional. Everything from advising you to documenting to providing support if you do get into a claim scenario. Legal issues, challenges with your people or the people that you're serving. And then actually for quite a few years in a row, we've been awarded one of West Michigan's best and brightest companies to work for. So our people tend to come and stay at BHS. There's a lot of consistency, which is helpful, right? If we start working with you guys, we don't want you to feel like you have a new name and a new face every month. We'll put a team in place, and that tends to be very consistent over time. So this is my professional background, but let me start by maybe giving you a little more information about something that Jeff shared. So my dad is one of 8 kids, grew up in Westland, Michigan, and unfortunately his dad was a World War II vet, came home with some PTSD, probably some undiagnosed mental health challenges, and he drank really hard, and he was abusive to the family. And if anybody knows about kind of that generational hurt that can be created, every single one of my dad's 7 brothers and sisters have struggled with drugs and alcohol in some shape or form. My dad, for some reason, was the only one that didn't fall into that. He was the oldest boy in the family. So when my grandfather left around his formative years, he kind of took over as sort of the dad in the household. So that's probably what kept him away from it more than anything. But 2 of my dad's brothers were sort of lifelong heroin addicts, fell into that young, and fought it for a lot of years. One of his brothers did get to a place where he was clean and sober for about 3 years. And so having been through it himself, he really wanted to start a sober recovery house, and actually ended up expanding that into quite a few in Westland and a few in Jackson. My dad came alongside him and kind of helped financially. I, as a teenager, have plenty of memories going out and cutting lawns and cleaning homes, putting up new cabinets, and being around the guys that they were serving, and really opened my eyes not only to addiction, but opened my eyes to really the services that are out there to help somebody get back on their feet. So unfortunately, we did lose one of my uncles to an overdose a handful of years ago. My other uncle is still out there. He unfortunately fell off at some point while they were running these houses. So my dad was kind of on his own at one point doing it. So I have a great deal of respect for what you guys do. Also a passion to help organization like yours that extends way beyond anything professional that I can do. My bio's there just so you can see. I've been doing this since 2001. So I've got some years and some gray hairs to show for it. So part of my role is to come along guys like Jourdan and provide some mentorship and provide opportunities to work with organizations that we can resonate with your mission more than just your average business out there.
Awesome. And a little bit about myself. I graduated from Western back in 2019. So if there's anybody from the Kalamazoo area, go Broncos. I started in personal lines insurance and then moved to commercial back in January of 2022, came to BHS Insurance. Love it here. It's been a great opportunity so far. I partnered with Tom. And currently right now, I do property and casualty only. I have a lot of different clients' backgrounds from manufacturing to nonprofits. So we thought this would be a great idea to connect with Jeff. Jeff is actually my neighbor, and that's how we started chatting. I saw him every day at the gym, and then saw him outside once in my yard. I was like, I think this guy, I know this guy from somewhere. So that's how we connected. But yeah, that's a little about myself. So then we have the general services. So how BHS works is we don't just come in and, shop the cheapest price. Obviously we're a broker, so we can, but what we try to do is, create that risk management in place, to make sure our clients are well protected from, things that they might not know, because you don't know what you don't know. So what we do is we like to take a 360-degree view of our clients' safety and risk management. And with these sober home living situations, there is a lot that might go unnoticed. So what we like to do is take them individually and take a deeper dive. We don't just want to blanket them to say, oh, yep, you fall in this program, we'll just write you. We want to take a deep look at your guys' services. Us being a broker, we have a very strong market, and we do a lot of business with a lot of these carriers in this area. Even though we have one carrier right now that's really going after these programs, we have a few other in place right now, which gives us the opportunity to go out and bid for these better price policies.
Yeah, you bet. I think that's something I want to highlight as well. we do have a couple carriers we think would really fit you best, but if for some reason, we start seeing some adverse pricing or maybe scaling back on coverage, it is easy for us to shift and move you elsewhere. I think most of you are being directed to one individual carrier, and I don't know what the history is as far as your experience with that, but could be a bit concerning not having options in the marketplace if something were to change there. I'll talk about our risk management services for a little bit. So like I mentioned before, what we do extends far beyond just providing some insurance for you. We'll do anything on this list that you would feel like would be helpful to your organization, but it is not something that we try to cram down your throat. If you guys feel like it's helpful, we're happy to engage. If you don't, we're not going to push it. But we'll do anything from helping you establish a safety committee, maybe just a group of individuals, house managers, what have you, that meet regularly and talk about site safety. Will help with a property assessment, maybe to make sure that all the life safety, fire extinguishers, if you have fire suppression systems, that's all functioning properly. We'll provide some MIOSHA guidance. So MIOSHA is basically the government body in Michigan that talks about anything occupational health and safety related. So it's really about keeping your people safe while they're out there working. Claims management, if you do have some losses, it could be a fire in a home, it could be an auto accident, could be a violent situation between two of your residents, or maybe a resident and manager. That's all things that we advise on as well. Just general safety awareness. Obviously, if there's an incident that happens that requires some investigation, we'll help with that. Reasonable suspicion is a big deal. I know probably day in and day out, you guys are evaluating, if somebody returns to your home, are they still doing the right things? Have they been drinking? Have they been using drugs? So we have some tools and resources to help with that as well. Other kind of just smaller things, slip, trips, and falls. And then, believe it or not, active shooter in the workplace. We've got some good resources, and there's actually insurance out there for that as well. Anyone have any questions at this point? I know we're throwing a lot at you. We'll do Q&A at the end, but I don't want you to miss the opportunity to ask a question now if you have anything.
I'll throw out a question at you guys. So let's say that I'm an operator in any town in Michigan, and I come to you and say, hey, I want you to look at my current insurance coverage. Is there any fee for that?
No, great question, Jeff. We do not charge any sort of upfront fees for our services. We'll talk to you just in general about overall safety and risk management. We'll do an analysis of your current insurance program, provide some guidance, whether that's enough as far as limits are concerned, or if there's any gaps in coverage. So no, we don't charge any fees. We don't get paid until you actually decide to work with BHS, essentially moving your insurance business over to us.
Thanks.
You bet. Anyone else? Okay, I'll keep going here. So I think it's important to point out that, when you're a recovery resident, you have unique exposure to risk that a lot of other businesses don't have. The one I put at the top of the list is abuse and molestation. Okay. And that could be from someone on your staff to one of your residents. It could be from resident to resident. It could be, some sort of a vendor that you guys work with. Maybe you have a service provider that comes to the house and they feel like they were abused, molested in some way. We 100% make sure that every single one of our clients that are similar to you, and really most nonprofit organizations we work with, have abuse and molestation coverage. That one has, and I'll be honest, that one's become a little more challenging to find coverage for at times, and to buy limits up to a certain point. Insurance companies are protective there, and there is a lot of abuse out there, unfortunately, but that will be part of the conversation and something you would have with any program with BHS. Professional liability. This one's a little more vague in your area, if I'm being honest. Typical professional liability would be for anybody who has like a designation, a certification, a degree, a professional title of some sort. But really in your business, I would say anyone who's running the organization or these house managers, they do have a professional obligation to the residents that they serve. So it could be something they did or didn't do, could be a bad recommendation that they made, could be something, I don't know if you guys get any sort of contracts, could be a contractual issue. But the professional liability is something that's important to have in there as well. The exposure is not nearly as great as something like abuse and molestation, but another area that, we don't hedge our bets on that. We make sure the professional is included too.
Definitely. And then the third one would be workers' compensation. Like Tom said, you guys are a unique organization where you might have a home base, but you guys also have all these homes that you guys have to go out to. If you guys have, your employees going out and buying a bunch of furniture, then having to put that furniture in the homes, driving material around, there's going to be that risk for the workers' compensation. For us to go in and to these carriers to explain, give them that 360-degree view of what you guys do is really important to make sure you guys are covered properly, and so are your employees. That fourth one would be employment practices liability. So this is the up and coming insurance policy that is on top of the radar for many companies. So what this is, excuse me, if you guys, as a company, were to have someone, one of your residents come back and say, I think I was, discriminated due to my sex, my age, my religion, my race, anything like that, they can come back and sue you guys for that. So having that coverage in place to make sure that you guys are properly covered is very important. And that last one is a special events coverage. So if you guys, ever host, a 5K for a fundraiser, if you guys ever have, food trucks at one of your locations, if you guys ever have like inflatables and, you can bring your family out, making sure that you guys are properly covered for those special events. Sometimes people don't think about it, but that is a whole nother part of your insurance you need to make sure that you're covered for liability purposes.
Good. Others that we didn't really put on the list here, but we do cover the gamut when it comes to commercial insurance. So property, auto, we have directors and officers liability if you have a board. But yeah, we'd go through a process in which we would review what you have in place currently. We'd make some recommendations potentially. Obviously, if you have anything extra that we're recommending that you add, we would give you the opportunity to know what the pricing is. That way you have some decision-making capabilities. And then hopefully put you in a much better place going forward.
And that brings us to our Q&A time. Anybody have any questions? We'll check the chat too. See if you guys text any questions in.
While we're waiting for that, I wanted to thank both you guys for coming out here today. I think it shows the following things. One is we need to pay attention as operators to our insurance coverage. The guys that you talked to today about this are both qualified and both know a little bit about the business of running a recovery residence. And they're willing to do a review of your insurance if you'd like for free. So with those three things, I think it's just a good business decision to make sure that you've got adequate insurance and that you're working with somebody who knows about the issues that are coming up in the recovery residence setting. So does anybody have any particular questions of Jourdan or Tom?
I'm going to speak up for a minute because I know on the last couple meetings there was a question about the professional liability. And as a previous operator myself, we never used professional liability because we didn't have any professionals. We didn't have any recovery coaches. We had volunteer individuals that lived in the home that took on a volunteer staff role, no employees. But there's some confusion about, there's some areas that are actually saying, so that like recovery coaches maybe should be covered under professional liability. And we just want to make sure, although we don't promote any insurance carrier one over the other, thank you for coming, but you guys have a choice of who you want to work with. But there's a lot of insurance carriers out there that have no idea what a recovery residence is. So, but being able to have another option to reach out to and say, hey, what would you charge? Is good for you for everybody on here because you all have to have insurance.
Yeah.
So my question would be about the professional liability to make sure that we have a clear understanding for that because it's expensive and we don't want to have extra insurance. Operators don't need extra insurance, right? Costs if they don't need it. But it's important to have some more clarification on that, I think.
Yeah.
Let me give you the context on that. We've recently run into one of our 10 regional state entities here in Michigan, they call them PHPs, that's required professional liability insurance for peer recovery coaches.
Mhm.
The peer recovery coaches are not licensed. There's no licensure for that for the state of Michigan. And so then the question is the professional liability insurance really an overkill? Is it providing something that's not needed in the context of a peer recovery coach?
Right, right. So I think the differentiation to make more than anything is that a general liability policy will cover if you do any sort of property damage or bodily injury to others.
Yeah,
If it's anything else, could be a financial strain they're put under, could be with a coach, it just could be a bad recommendation that ended in a difficult situation, maybe with a family member. There's a lot of different examples of things that could happen. And if I'm in the seat of running a recovery residence, I would want, depending on the cost, I would want to have that professional liability in place because there's a whole lot outside of what a general liability policy covers that could happen, resulting in a lawsuit.
right. And my question to you guys really is there a cheaper form of insurance that just covers the risk attendant with a peer recovery coach as opposed to a licensed professional that's making decisions that might generate more potential claims?
Yeah, no, great question. So anytime we take you through an application process, when we get to the professional liability section, there's going to be different classifications of employees. And we would want to make sure we put them in a classification that is treated as a lesser exposure, which of course is going to carry a lesser rate. So absolutely, you can still have the professional liability, but if it's not classed appropriately, you may be paying too much.
Okay, because I think I'm not positive, Tom, but I think that's exactly what's happened with at least one of our operators. Because they
Yeah.
got quoted something that was like, they're covering brain surgery risks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And here's the thing. I mean, there are some insurance companies out there that don't have the expertise in this area. They're just going to lump everybody in the same category with the same rate, and then you're going to pay whatever it is they quote. So the carriers we work with, they do specifically go through the underwriting to understand exactly what those people do and put them in the right category.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
Do
may
you
get
get-
a phone call from two people.
Okay, fair enough. Do any of the house managers, are any of them I guess it's probably unique to organization, but is anybody responsible for maintaining either possession of or distribution of medication?
Generally, no.
Okay. Any exceptions to that?
There are some that will have a separate, there are some operators I know that have a separate medicine chest locked in area. They do not have the sole possession of that. So the resident has to have a key and then the operator has a key and then the operator watches the resident take the medication out of the box, put two in his mouth, put the rest back, count them.
Yeah.
And then locks it back up. That's about that's the closest you get to anything dealing with medication.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Believe it or not, that'd still be considered a professional exposure. Not a huge one, but they would still treat it that way, believe it or not. And that's more of an insurance company thing than a BHS thing.
So it's always better to get the insurance, but let's get the cheapest insurance for the smallest risk, because that's all really that we need.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. Yeah, the way I put it to our clients, it's really our job to make sure you guys get the broadest coverage for the least amount of money out there.
Okay.
And it does go back to being, we're independent, right? We're not married to any one insurance company. With most recovery residents, if you guys wanted us to take a look and then quote it, we probably have 3-4 different carriers that would take a look at it. So that really does help us to be competitive because we're brokering the business between multiple carriers who want your business. And so somebody needs to step up and, put it in a place where it's financially reasonable as well.
Yeah. So just from a business perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense that every operator probably on an annual basis have somebody, an insurance expert, somebody to review it, whether it's you or whatever insurance experts they have. It's just a good business decision to have that done. And for those of you that may not have that relationship with a professional certified, persons, here's 2 guys that fit all those qualifications. So.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. Yeah, our process.
And thanks, guys, for showing up. Anybody know any other questions?
It looks like there's a couple other questions in the chat.
Kayla, you want to recite the questions?
What is the typical cost for a house?
Yeah, so that's going to vary depending on the square footage, the material, the years built. So it's kind of hard to give an exact number on that. But we do replacement cost estimators on all of our buildings to make sure that it's properly insured, that the square footage matches the cost to rebuild. So that's kind of a hard to pinpoint, but we do make sure it is accurate.
Yeah, you're probably referring not just to property, but also the liability and everything else attached. It'll depend on how many beds, how many residents that you have there. That factors in there too. But we try to be as upfront as possible, once we get a hold of what you guys have and putting some estimates together.
Gotcha. The second one is, do you offer extended reporting period endorsement?
Yeah, you bet we do.
And I saw Kim K raised her hand in the video chat. Do you still have a question? I know that was a little bit ago, but.
You're muted, Kay. Kim.
Yeah,
Hey.
it got answered. That's why I took my hand down.
All
But
right.
thank you.
Gotcha. Then there's one more. Ginger, you have a question regarding professional liability for PRC?
I do. I'm sorry I'm late, but I piped in just in time for you to hear about the professional liability for peer recovery coaches. Now, our 501c3, our nonprofit, our ministry is what it is, hires peer recovery coaches.
Sure.
And I have 2 now that I pay to do the coaching. Now, would they need their personal professional liability insurance, or would our insurance cover them as an entity?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Ginger, are they 1099 then at this point?
Yes.
Are, okay. It does depend on how the professional liability form reads. We can get it covered that way. Most insurance companies, they want you to transfer risk off to anyone who's not a direct employee. So it does boil down to your comfort. And this is kind of the risk management side, right? Do we want to absorb that risk and cover it on our professional, or would we feel better off them buying their own policies? Contractually, we have them sign something that says they're first in line for any issues that pop up. And then you're really just getting rid of that risk.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Welcome. Anybody else?
If you guys do have more questions, more than welcome to email Tom and I. Our info is right there. And that's our number to the Holland office. We work out of the Holland office, like Jeff said. So yeah, thank you very much for your time, guys. And
I appreciate it.
yeah, we'll leave you guys for the rest of your meeting.
Thank you,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Thanks.
Bye.
Take care.
Well, that was interesting. Hopefully it was helpful for everybody just to hear a little bit more insight from people that do insurance. But we don't, again, promote one over the other, but highly recommend that you call around. There's a few that most operators use just because they found it to be a little bit less expensive. But again, you want to make sure that you're getting everything you need. If you provide transportation, if you have professionals or recovery coaches, that is something to look into to make sure if something happens, that you'll be covered. So But definitely I'd reach out to these individuals and say, this is what I'm paying now. Can you do better? You know, and see if you can get a better rate with somebody. Does anybody have any questions about what's just discussed?
I can give an update on the because I brought up that concern about professional liability last month, and I've since talked to Health West covering the Muskegon area, and it's not up to them, but it's up to Lakeshore Regional Entity, and they said that basically the reason why the auditors are starting to press upon this is because that's the way the overgeneralized contracts read that we all have to sign, and that they're working on trying to finesse the language so that we as an organization don't get sucked into what more intense organizations have to do. And so sounds kind of so yeah, we'll just have to see what happens, but they're aware of it. They say there are conversations being had to create some more verbiage so that we're not being swallowed up into what treatment centers are expected to have.
Thanks for doing that, Preston.
Yeah.
Hey, Kayla, have anything you'd like to talk about?
I do not
Thanks.
this month. Usually I can come up with something to say, but
Call me,
I'm
teacher.
good.
Hey, teacher, calling me. I have a bunch of stuff.
Okay, Jeff, what would you like to talk about?
Thank you for calling on me. Yeah. Well, guys, here's what the deal is. We've gotten a whole bunch of stuff, and it's all a result of you folks actually putting in your time. From the University of Kentucky, they've come back with an economic calculator and a financial landscape. These were done according to a national grant by PhD students at the University of Kentucky, so they have all the credibility in the world that this is actually researchers. And those were sent out to everybody that's on this phone call a couple of weeks ago. It's also on the MARR website. If you haven't had a chance to look at that, please do so. It shows that on the financial calculator, you can read through it. It's more than 15 pages, but the bottom line was that for every dollar that's put into recovery supports in the state of Michigan, there's a return of $84. For every dollar put in, you get $84 returned in more benefits, less incarceration, all economic numbers. So take a look at that, because next time anybody's that is on here that needs to talk to their PHPs about funding, or talk to anybody about funding, or talk to anybody about zoning, here's something that shows this makes all the economic sense in the world. It works, it doesn't cost much, and did I mention that it works? On the financial or the landscape on the state of Michigan, it showed that you folks are underpaid. That there is a across the board need for more funding. So that again is something that we've been able to take to the state of Michigan, to our various PIHP individuals, and say, hey folks, in order to get the product that we need here for the state of Michigan, for the people needing our services, we need to have some funding. And our funding, I'll show you this thing over here that says you get an $84 return for every dollar you put in. We're not asking for the moon. We just need a little bit of funding. And so with that funding request, I think these are pieces of evidence that when you go into try to make an argument, that these are wonderful pieces of evidence for that. Another document that comes with a huge amount of credibility is the RecCap report. So that is something also that I'm sure Kelly will talk about in a little bit, but That is something that is an annual report that is done by ROI Research, the David Best people, the people that came up with the rec cap. And it shows here's what the result is over the first year. So if you take those two pieces of evidence, actually 3 pieces of evidence with you in any type of meeting, any type of funding request, any type of zoning issues, these are really credible third-party expert reports that show here's the value in what we do and what you folks do running recovery residences. So
Awesome.
that's all I had, Teach.
No, it's not. You know
Yeah,
you're gonna have other stuff. Anyone have any questions about what Jeff just talked about?
I also put where exactly to find it on the website in the chat. So as soon as you go to our website, we have a little news tab and then it's under the statistics section. That's where you can read all 3 documents of the financial landscape study.
Perfect. Yeah, and great information for you guys to share when you're looking to get a contract or renew a contract. It works.
Got your report cards
Works.
and they all have A's on them. Those A's and show them to whomever you need to deal with, okay?
Hey, Kelly. Kelly Darren, anything new with Rec Cap?
Well, just to kind of follow up with what Jeff mentioned, we have our first annual report, which is really exciting. I would love for all of you to take a look at that as well. And as Jeff indicated, it just shows that you're knocking it out of the park, and we're able to show that with some data to back it up because we already knew that's what you were doing. Something to keep in mind along with that report is that while that report includes all of our operators network wide, you do have the capability within your system to go into your reports and get your single operator information. You can also go into your dashboard. Don't forget you have that little button there that you can create your own PowerPoint with. You can download that information to CSV files so that you can use it however you need to. I've heard a couple of our operators have used that when they go to their board meetings. And that kind of does the same thing for you, just for yourself as an individual. It's going to show you what comparisons, going to show the comparisons between evaluations, etc. So just kind of keep that in mind, that along with having the annual report, which is telling us what we already knew, also you're going to have the ability, within your system to create that for your own organization. So that's super exciting. If you ever need any help with any information in the system, please reach out. I'm more than happy to hop on a Zoom with you. I'm more than happy to email you if I can what needs to be given to you. I'm more than happy to help with that. Like I said, board information. And I also had an individual that's using information for a grant. For grant writing. So, keep that in mind, that while we're definitely a collective and we're working together for the greater good, we're made up of individuals that have your own, little niche to provide data, etc. And that's always important as well. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about looking at your data. And then just a couple of reminders. First of all, the waive or the evaluations only. So choosing to participate in the system, the requirement has changed. I know I've said that a couple of times. That seems to be working really well, especially for organizations that already have an electronic medical record. So we're not recreating the wheel and making you do, the same thing over and over again. Also, the $300 reimbursement that you're able to use per certified address. So if you have 10 homes within your organizations that are certified, you are eligible for $3,000 reimbursement to buy equipment to use in your home to complete these evaluations with your clients. I know a lot of folks have found that very helpful, just to have it available right to them and to be able to sit down and go through that as well. Something that I did want to know is our community of practice. We have had 3 now. This month we're going to be canceling. It is 2 weeks from today. We are going to cancel this month's community of practice and reconvene in July. In the meantime, keep an eye out. We're going to be sending some surveys. We want to get some information from you. What are you looking to get out of this? Because this, this is for you. We want to support you in any way possible to be as successful as possible in using the system. So, we'll be, like I said, we'll be sending those surveys out to get some information from you prior to the meeting so we can come at it from areas of need that you all are, feeding back to us. So once you see that, if you could please make sure to respond, let us know. As always, I'm always available, email, call. If you need to turn in a ticket, just make sure you're contacting support. If you have questions or concerns, email me or the Get Help team that are, our software support. And does anyone have any questions about REDCap? I just kind of want to make sure that everyone has a clear understanding and we're all on the same page. If you don't have any questions, that's kind of all I wanted to bring you up to date on, and I look forward to seeing everybody. Kind of to jump on the piggyback with the community of practice, I want everyone to kind of be aware that it's for all users. So it's not necessarily for just the administrative team, etc. What we're really interested in is getting into it with the folks that are, doing the thing. Out in the trenches, meeting with folks, etc. Give us some feedback on how we can help, how we can improve, because as we all know, that's a constant process is improvement. So if nobody has any questions, that's all I have for this month.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Questions? Just speak up. I did a site review for an operator yesterday, Kelly, and talked about REDCap and gave them your card and
Awesome.
encouraged them to reach out to you.
Yep.
So they're supposed to be contacting you, I believe, this week, so they can get going as well.
Look forward to it.
So the process is a lot simpler. Just doing the assessments. About how long per individual are you thinking it takes?
I would say conservatively, when they first start doing it, just because it's going to take a bit longer, probably 45 minutes. Once you get that going, you get them into the system, and you know what you're doing and create your process, down to about 30 minutes.
And can the operator just do, when they're starting out, maybe they have 100 beds, so they can start out with just the new people coming in and move
Absolutely.
forward, right? So they don't have to just
Absolutely.
automatically have to do 100 beds. They can just do moving forward. I'm going to do this person because he's coming in, and next week I got 2 intakes, so I'll do them. And so it can be a
Absolutely.
slow process without overwhelming.
Absolutely. And interestingly enough, when we have started with folks, we give them that option. If you want to just start with new intakes, that's completely fine. Do it that way. If you want to get all the folks in that you have with you, they've wanted to get the folks in. And there's an admission date, so we can kind of keep track of, the folks that have been there longer and this is their first assessment type of thing, so we can separate that kind of data. But interestingly enough, pretty much everybody's chosen to put all their people in. So, but that's
That
definitely
is an option. Good.
It is an option.
It might make a difference for people. And then once they get the hang of it, then they, hey, I can put a few more in here, a few more in there and stuff. And then after a while, the residents can put their own data in, right? That's the whole idea with having the laptops there on site, because at the 45-day mark, right, they can track their own stuff and put it in there. So that makes it simple.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Wally, updates?
Thanks, Catherine. Not too much, I wanted to thank everybody who participated in that University of Kentucky survey. I mean, that's such important information. And the other piece to that, in addition to what Jeff said, was it's being utilized in a number of different states. So this information is also going to be used at the national level in order to get increased funding beginning in Washington. So it's very important stuff. And the other thing that next month, we're going to have somebody on here who is going to explain all we need to know about grants. I guess I would ask that if you had any particular area that you might think you want to have addressed, just send me an email and I will pass it on to to the people who are going to be talking about grants next month, so that we don't miss those points. Anyway, that's it. Thanks.
Did you put your email in the chat, Wally, for those that don't have that?
I will.
Great. Any questions for Wally? Anything or anything else we've discussed so far? No? Okay. Well, I would like to introduce Operator of the Month, and it is this month, Kim K. Just for Today's Day. So Kim, congratulations. I was very impressed with your homes, and they always look so nice, and got a great program going on. So you want to tell us a little bit about your program?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Can you hear me? It's my,
Yep.
okay. So I have a smaller program, and I'm actually involved personally in my houses and have been from the very beginning. This is probably year 18 or 19 for me. I've been going pretty strong. And so many different things have happened during that, like MARR getting involved, and because basically when I started out, it was just like a passion for me, because I have 30 years in recovery myself, and I wanted to give back what was so gratefully given to me, and also try to navigate through the housing industry, which a lot of issues came up through that. And so I can say that sometimes you feel like people aren't doing what we need them to do to help us. They're just like putting their hands in and just trying to get some, because I know that people feel that way with the MARR and that. And but I can tell you that some of the stuff that you're doing with the attorneys, with navigating things for the state for us is great, because I've had like issues that have come up in my housing, like I can't do that because it's a single house. You can't have 7 or 8 people in a single home. There's been like the zoning issues, but I just kept treading through the waters. And it has happened for me. I've had 4 or 5 houses. I'm down to 2. And I'm only down that way because it's been 18 years. I'm on the border of like letting go. But so many people tell me that it's so helpful and that they don't want me to go. Catherine being one of them. And I take pride in my houses, and I know that I have a very structured house. So with that being said, you'll hear a lot of complaints from people that aren't ready for this. But the people that are, I can tell you, my success rate is pretty good for long-term recovery. I'm grateful because, we have a lot of liability as far as, people ODing and things like that in the house, because, people will go out and use. And so, I've navigated it to where they have to call me every 3 or 4 hours, in hopes that doesn't happen, which it hasn't happened. I haven't even had an OD in the house. So in 18 years, I'm so grateful. Like, I am so grateful for that, because that is like a difficult area for me. I have a 40-year-old son myself, 42 actually, that OD'd in LA County Jail, and he's cognitively impaired because of that, and they didn't get to him on time. And so these are the things that I am like, I ask people in the house, like, you got to knock on people's doors, just check on people that are in the house. I try to get them to understand it's not like I'm just here for me. No, it's a housing situation. You want to help each other in this house. That's what it's about. It's about helping each other. And so that takes a lot. It drains me sometimes, because I get 3 or 4 calls a day from each and every client that's in my house. And I finally brought on an assistant a couple years ago, which thank God for her. And you know, so it's about accountability and responsibility in my house. That's how I feel it is. So they have to send me pictures of their chores every day, that it's done, tell me what their chore is, you know. I have them take pictures of like the Macosa paper that has to be signed nightly, because like I've had people tear their paper up just so you don't get paid for it because they're angry about something. I've also had people overtake their Seroquel and say they broke their legs in the house and they had like fractures from before. It cost me thousands of dollars with attorneys representing me. So, you know, there is a lot to this. So what MARR is informing us is reality, really. And so, you know, I am grateful and thankful. Thank you for recognizing me, because I've worked really hard to do the things that I do in the houses to save lives. And I feel like it's working, and I get told that it's working. And so I am real grateful for the recovery housing opportunity and how it's grown, how our community has grown, and we are out here helping and saving lives.
Awesome.
Awesome,
And thank you
Kim.
for all you do. And it's obvious, it was very obvious when I was walking through with you, doing it because that's your love. You care about what you do and care about making a difference. And I see more successful operators. The successful operators are the ones that do care about what they do. It makes a difference in life. And so it's more than just putting a roof over somebody's head, right? And just in the business, it's something you got to care about what you do and what. So, anyone have any questions for Kim on anything that she does differently in her home?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
I'm looking at your website right now, which is beautiful, by the way. Excellent job. I'm just wondering, is the trampoline covered under insurance?
So I had to get that out of there, but I did leave it in there. That was a house. That's funny that you say that, because they wanted me, the guys wanted me to leave that, you know.
I bet they did. I bet they
Yeah,
did.
but and I had a swimming pool in that backyard too.
Perfect.
But there was too much liability with that. So I did have to get that out of there. But we do have, like, you know, we have events that go on in the backyard, especially for the holidays, cookout. And I get everybody to participate in that. I let them bring something, make something, whatever they want to do so that they can feel a part of it. I usually supply like the big thing, like the meats or whatever like that, you know, so that we can have an event together. And I try to, because it's different, because I'm going to my families, I'm going to this, you know, they haven't been in their families in 20 years, but they're going this day because they just don't know how to be involved, you know. So I try to create the atmosphere of, okay, what time works the best? Because we're doing this. So tell me what time works the best. And you know how, and then I do a Sunday night meeting, and I do a 12-step meeting, so that they can learn the traditions and the steps. And because I feel like that's important. Now I also like allow them to feel like comfortable at any kind of recovery thing that they go to, but this is something that my house does. It's a 12-step program, so
Good deal.
we incorporate all that.
Awesome.
But no trampoline no more, so thank you.
I would not
Ruin
recommend
that site.
trampolines at any of the homes. Yeah. Yeah, good catch. I did find a big boat at one of her driveways too. I'm like, taking
Yeah,
everybody out on that big boat.
that was mine. That was mine. Okay.
Thank you and congratulations, Kim. Thank you for all you
Thank
do.
you.
All right. I wanted to let everybody know that we're increasing our pop-ins. So I'm going to have 1 or 2 days a week where I'm going to pick a location, or maybe an area that I have a site review going on at the time. And if there's other operators in that area at the time, I'm just gonna pop in at one of your homes and say hello. So please make sure, we have contractors too. So I'm gonna focus on females, doing female home pop-ins, and the male individuals, contractors will do male home pop in. So just for safety, and don't want anyone, because sometimes it might happen on a weekend. Might happen on a weekend. You might have a contractor show up, but please make sure that all your individuals know in your homes that if an individual shows up with a MARR badge, they need to let them in. Let them in, and they're not going to do a major review like we do when we come through or look at files and stuff. But they just basically going to walk through and see what's going on. Is there people sitting around using? Are they, does everything still look good? Is there still cleaning being taken place? And people are getting to meetings and talk to individuals too to see how everything is. And it should be pretty quick, but just to let you know that will be increasing. Okay. So wanted to also talk about postings. So just to remind everybody, we've added a couple things over the years, and then last year we added some stuff, but it's important that, we're not just telling you to post stuff on the wall just to give you a hard time and make more things for you to do. It's important because when I come through the door, when Mark comes through the door, we're advocating for the residents that live there. We're on your side. We want you to do well as an operator, but we're coming in with eyes for the individuals that live there and are going to come through your program and want to make sure that your home is inviting and welcoming and has there's recovery taking place. You've got structure in place, but we also want to make sure that things are posted on a wall to make sure that they're educated and they see what they need to see. So like recipient rights. When you work with different organizations or you contract with different entities, they all have maybe they have a big poster they want you to post here, and somebody else wants you to post this other thing. The one thing that we want to see, MARR wants to see, is a state form, and it's the form. It's a 1-page, and it has the boxes at the bottom where you can put your organization's recipient rights contact, and then your local CMH recipient rights contact. That's what we need to see when we walk in. It needs to be posted up on a wall. Grievance, your grievance and appeals. So everybody has a policy, grievance policy. So we want to make sure we see a grievance up there, and make sure that you have forms available. Maybe somebody wants to file a grievance, where are the forms? Make sure that those are available for your individuals. Code of ethics. Everybody is using Code of Ethics. You're welcome to adopt the MARR Code of Ethics as well. Some of the new operators that are on here. But the Code of Ethics should be posted as well up there so the individuals can see that for themselves. Emergency phone numbers. So not just the people that live there in your home or the operator's number, but it should be, poison control, consumer energy, or maybe the cable company, or just, in case there's an emergency, just to make sure that they have, there's 911, of course, but then there's non-emergency police, there's EMS, there's all different kinds of numbers that if there's something urgent, it's important to have that information in one location. And usually it's best to probably put your home address on that same form. This is your address where you're located in big bold letters so they can see. Somebody could be living in your home for years and then there's an emergency, right? And they got to make a call, 911, and okay, well, what's your location? And they could be totally flustered and totally forget where they're living. But to have it there available right in front of them, it's a safety thing. And just to help them so they have that information available in an emergency. There's the MARR cleaning list, not to be confused with the home's chore list. There's a chore list that you have for your residents. And most places go ahead and they rotate that every week, at a house meeting, which is great. Chore list. Make sure there's also something detailed. So it doesn't just say bathroom. Maybe there's a detailed list someplace that a person can look at. Well, when I have to clean the bathroom, I got to put water in the tub and scrub it with Ajax. I got to sweep and mop and clean the mirror. And, there's all kinds of things to do in the bathroom. So So just make sure that it's detailed. Not everybody that comes to your home knows what to do when it says, you know, clean the kitchen, you know? So sometimes people need to be shown, and to have something a little bit more detailed written out is helpful. I went to an operator's too. I saw in two different operators' homes actually. They actually had like a list in every single bedroom that said what the expectation is. You know, make your bed, you know, dust your dresser and sweep your floor and vacuum your rug, and just it just showed them different things. This is stuff that they should be taking care of every day, you know. But I thought it was cool that they actually had a list that just itemized things a little bit better. So the MARR cleaning list is basically it's for the operator, you know, the person that owns the home, and the reason we came up with that is because there was too much inconsistency, and there's a lot of homes, but you have a home and you have people living in there, it's a recovery residence, but there's other things that need to be done besides the chore list to take care of a home. You know, you've got to mow the lawn, you've got to edge, maybe you've got mold on the side of your home, you got to power wash your home, you got to paint the trim, you got to wash curtains, there's a lot of other detailed stuff that should be done daily, weekly, monthly, that the operator, so that was given to the operator so they can actually utilize that and make sure they have a system in place. So that's supposed to be helpful, and it has been helpful for me. When I go there, things have been a little bit more consistent. So also there's the maintenance list. So just so we're clear on that, the maintenance list it was something that came up with too, again, because it was too much inconsistency. I go to recovery residences and there was a lot of things that needed to be repaired. You know, the toilets running, or the railing on the stairs fell off, and you know, all this stuff. Well, I told the manager, well, I told so and so. So, but they may have been busy doing something else, right? And just totally forgot. So we came up with a maintenance list that we want posted. If you don't have a system in place already, if you already have a system in place and it works for you, and I go there and I'm not seeing a bunch of stuff broken, great. You don't have to use it. But otherwise, I think it's a great tool. You put it on your fridge. That way everybody knows, hey, if you see something, call me and let me know there's a problem, but also write it on the list. They put the date, their name, and what the issue is. Toilet is running, you know, and what the date is. And also call the operator. I can't remember what operator said, you know, it'd be helpful if they were called and notified as well. But that way, when somebody comes and checks on the home, they can go right to that list and they can see everything that needs to be fixed and keep up on maintaining the home. So there are things that need to be posted. I know it's no fun having postings everywhere. Get a nice size bulletin board and you can fit everything easily right on that one location. So does anyone have any questions about that?
Just so you guys know, 3 of those documents are always listed on our website under applications, become certified, the become certified tab. Those are listed on there for you to download at any time. Since we talked about it, I'll attach it to my post-meeting follow-up email that I send out, just so each of you have the maintenance list, the cleaning list, and the recipients' rights postings also. So that'll be in the email that'll send out after this meeting.
Yeah, just because this is the particular one, we want to see the recipient rights with the 2 boxes. But again, if you're working with an organization or like I know Wayne County, they have like a big poster they want you to post. That's okay. I mean, you got to, that's your part of your contract. You've got to do what they tell you to do, you know. But as far as MARR goes, we didn't create something new. It is a state form. And but we want to see it posted on the wall for the individuals. So sorry, Preston, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the grievance posting form, but you mentioned that there's another form that could be used for them to fill out. Is that something that each organization kind of creates for their organization, or is there a general template on the website?
It'd be something they have to be able to file a grievance, and what do they write it on? What do you
Yeah.
have your individuals write on? So a grievance is an internal thing. So something like, I don't like my laundry day, or, you moved me to this room, and, it's just something typically internal that they don't like, and then that piece of paper would go to the house manager, and then they would look at it and review it and write a response. And if they didn't like that, maybe they give it to you, Preston, for you to look at to see that there's an issue here and they want you to resolve it. So yes, you complete your own grievance policies and procedures as an organization, but there needs to be a form that they can actually fill out to file a grievance. So it's more than
Okay.
just saying, hey, I don't like this. It's a form that they would actually fill out, and they would actually sign. What is the grievance? The date and their name and solution, so they give it to the house manager or the house lead or something, and they could say, okay, you don't want Tuesdays, okay, we'll move you to Wednesdays. Maybe that made them happy. Again, it's something minor versus like a recipient rights.
Okay.
There's an operator that told me too, like I brought it up last month. They have QR codes on everything. And so they have like a QR code for recipient rights. So they could write on the recipient rights form, there's a QR code, and they can click on that, and there's a form that pops up, and they can complete their recipient rights right on their phone. They have the same thing for grievance. So like if somebody has a grievance, they have a QR code right on their grievance form. They can click on that, and they can actually, a form pops up where they can actually fill out a grievance from there. So if anyone has a grievance form that they write on that you'd like to share, I'd be happy to share that with everybody. Everybody uses something a little bit different, I guess. There's no template for that. Anybody have anything they want to, suggestions or any opinions on that? No.
Well, we're also overtime, so
Oh, are we
everyone
overtime?
wants to leave.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I did a lot of talking this time. I'm sorry. It is Pride Month. It's Pride Month and Juneteenth. So please make sure you recognize that for the residents that live in your homes, and please be safe. And sorry, I rambled on. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thanks a lot.